Hello, greetings, dear friend. I hope you're doing fine today. Come to think of it, what really is stopping us from having our best life? What really is hindering us from pursuing those goals? Reasoning through a lot, you realize that most of the things that stops us from making meaningful progress are just some very funny reasons, which until you give it some deep thinking, you may never realize just how much you are being held back by your own self. Some of the reasons why we are unable to get the better of us, we are unable to pursue our own goals, are things like shame. Some people are ashamed for reasons I cannot tell. Questions to ask yourself: what are you ashamed of? Are you ashamed of the process that should give you a better life? Are you ashamed of pursuing a future as beautiful as the life you envisage? What exactly are you ashamed of? What will people say has held a lot of people back from pursuing their dreams. You see that you're wondering what will people say. People who, if you go to think about them, they don't care about you. And in the nearest future, will you be telling your children that I did not pursue my dream because I was more like, what will people say? What will people say? Until you do the thing, then you will know what people will say. If you don't do the thing you're supposed to do, you will not know what people will say. And let me tell you something: people will hardly have valid things to say for anyone who succeeds at what they want to do in life. People will hardly have any valid backlash to bring your way as long as you succeed at your goal. Instead, if you don't do the things that will make your life better, then you will find out what people will say about you. You are a failure, you are lazy, you are dumb, on all the things that will make you feel more bad about yourself. So why not do it? Why are you ashamed? See, never let shame hold you back from pursuing your dreams. The process of change, the process of pursuing your dream may entail you stooping low to do some very basic menial things or whatever it may be. Shame has no grounds. It shouldn't be a force that should hold you from pursuing your best life. Everyone out there who is doing great things had every reason to be ashamed as well, but they had to be courageous enough to dare. They had to be courageous enough to dare. Another thing that makes a lot of people to fail at pursuing their dreams is fear of their own inadequacy. We feel we are not enough. We feel we don't have what it takes to do the great things that others are doing. You can never tell until you step out there to do the things. By the way, when you do the things, you are going to find out the requirements to succeed at those things. And in today's generation, you can learn literally everything. You can learn everything. So let not the fear of your own inadequacies hold you back from pursuing your dreams. Don't allow your own inadequacies, the fear of your own incompleteness. Everyone out there has something that they're lacking, but courage is all they needed to step out and do something meaningful. Fear of our own weaknesses, our own mistakes. Everybody has made mistakes. But the day you made those terrible mistakes, question I will ask you is: did you die? Did your life end at that moment? No. The fact that you are still living is enough reason for you to realize that life is presenting to you many more chances to make amends, to correct your mistakes. By the way, you are not living to correct any mistakes. You are living forward. You are living to make something worthwhile out of life. Fear of the unknown is another thing that has held so many people from pursuing their best life. Now you look at something. Everyone who steps out to do something great, most of the times, steps out just with a vision and the courage to step out there and do it. Nobody steps out knowing fully what's going to happen. Everybody, like right now, all I may have can just be my dreams and vision. I don't know what tomorrow holds for a fact. But should that keep me from like, why not try this thing? Oh, I can try this thing like that. And this. You think about a lot of scenarios, which is good, so that you can be watchful and be very calculative in your steps. But fear of the unknown shouldn't stop you from pursuing your dreams. Let me tell you a story about a man called Gideon in the Bible. He's one of the judges. You can read the story in the book of Judges. Gideon was born in a time when the children of Israel had been oppressed for so long that they were living in fear, in terror, in hiding, that the enemy can ambush them at any time. What happens is, this is Gideon in hiding, managing his life like you and I sometimes we want to just be managing our lives. We don't want us trouble. And God comes and tells him that he is supposed to lead the entire Israelites to conquest. He's supposed to lead them to victory. And here is a young man looking at himself. I'm like, oh my, these guys have been terrorizing us for years. And you want me to lead these people? Come on, even if you're the one in the situation, you will have doubts, you have fears. But the funny thing is, you never know just how much potential you have until you take the bold step to say, I'm taking up to this challenge. I am going to step out of this. I'm going to do this thing. Look at what happens. Gideon was scared. He wanted God to give him all kind of signs that he has the ability to conquer. God gave him every sign possible, and he wasn't still satisfied. Because what really stops most of us to pursue our dreams, to go for that conquest, is beyond validation. We feel that we are not good enough, and we think that the enemy is better off. We think that others are better than us. So we stop ourselves from even trying. And this is how God helped him. One evening, God asked Gideon to go to the enemy's camp. And what happened is that Gideon actually went to the enemy's camp. Unfortunately, do I say, he went to the camp and hid himself at one corner. And he heard a conversation between two persons, two of the soldiers in the enemy's camp. What is the conversation about? One person had a dream and he was wondering what this dream could mean. I don't want to go into the stories, you can read it yourself. But one person had a dream and was wondering what the dream meant. And the other person that the dream was narrated to told this guy that, haven't you heard about Gideon? This guy started speaking about Gideon. Gideon was behind hearing. This guy started speaking about Gideon and all that Gideon could do. In other words, Gideon could never have imagined that the enemy was seeing him as a threat. He could never have imagined that the things he's afraid of, they are afraid of him. So until we step out there, we will never know. If you have the ability to breathe, if you have a brain that can think, if you have a life that is still going, know this for sure. You can still do all that you have set your heart to do. Whenever we allow fear, we allow doubt, we allow our own inadequacies to stop us from living a meaningful life, we are simply putting a limit to what God can do in our lives. Because it's not so much about us. When you look at it critically, it's not so much about us. You know why? Because it is God who works in us, both to will and to do according to his good purposes. So if we allow our own fears, if we allow shame, if we allow pain and all our own inadequacies to stop us from living a meaningful life, we are simply putting a limit to what God can do. We are putting a limit to what God can do. God doesn't need us to be perfect. He doesn't need us to be the strongest. He doesn't need us to be the wisest. He can still use us to accomplish great things in this life, provided we can only understand that he hasn't given us the spirit of fear. He has given us the spirit of love, of sound mind and courage, boldness. That is the spirit that works in us. We need love. Let our actions, let our desires, let our visions, let our ambitions, let our projects be guided, be founded in love. We need to also have sound mind, understand how life works, understand how to deal with people, understand what it takes to execute certain projects. The fact that you love God is not enough. There are projects and there are ideas that God will allow even non-believers to have because they have the kind of mental capacity to execute such projects. So you too, you and I, we need to have sound mind and courage. Don't allow fear to put a cap to what God can do in our lives. Never allow fear to limit you. We have all made mistakes. Get up, dust yourself, and keep going. Let the light of God illuminate you. Arise and shine, for your light has come. The glory of the Lord is rising upon you. There is darkness already, too much darkness. There's already so much oppression. We all have to step out there and start doing something worthwhile. God hasn't given us the spirit of fear. He has given us the spirit of love, sound mind, and boldness. That's what he has given us. So don't allow fear, shame, pain, guilt, all of these things to stop you, to keep you in that very low point where you think that you are not good enough. No, you are enough. You are enough. You can pursue the life that God has in store for you. Don't put a limit to what God can do because it is God who works in us both to will and to do according to his good purposes. So there is a lot that God wants to accomplish, but he can do as much as we permit him because he works in us and through us. He is God. He has given us the earth to possess and to execute his will. So just like he could not execute his salvation plan without a man, he needed his own human form. Christ had to be born as a man for him to execute God's mission, God's eternal plan for salvation. You and I also are needed by God to execute his divine plan. So don't allow fear, don't allow guilt, don't allow shame. By the way, these are the tactics of the enemy. He brings shame, pain, guilt, inadequacies as the reason enough to hold us from living the very life that God wants us to live. Don't allow that to happen to you. You are enough. So, if you feel that you're not enough, right? See, look for a counselor. Look for a counselor. Look for a good counselor. Oh God, I wish I had a better way of saying this. So many of us are being held in our own shelves because of shame, because of guilt, because of our own inadequacies, because of our mistakes. And to think that God is not even looking at that to hold us limited. God is not even counting that as a thing. So don't allow that to stop you, dear friends. Don't allow that to stop you. It is God who works in you, both to will and to do all that He wants you to do. It's not about you. It's not about you. Because if it's about us, some of us should never even bother living again because we have made a lot of mistakes. We are inadequate. We are incompetent. In fact, we can go on and on to list the various reasons why we are not enough. But because you have God, you're enough. You're enough. You're enough. All you need, He has given. Just simply develop it. He has given you the spirit of love, sound mind, and boldness, confidence, courage. The only thing that God had to rebuke Joshua 4 times in one chapter: be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Have I not told you, be strong and courageous? The people came to Joshua and told him that in this thing that God has asked you to do it. We are with you. Be strong and courageous. That is all we need. Be strong and courageous. You need to be strong and courageous. The times are hard, true. That is what calls for strength. That is what calls for resilience. That's what calls for resilience. In a time when many are afraid and many are timid, that's what calls for courage. That's what calls for courage. Dear friend, we can do it. God is with us. Stay blessed. I love you. I'm your friend.